Not much is known about the early life of Greek mathematician Eratosthenes. What is known is that he was born in Cyrene, a prosperous Grecian city-state located in present-day Libya, in northern Africa. He was the son of Aglaus, though his mother is unknown. From an early age, Eratosthenes was brimming with questions, curious about the world around him. Why was the sun so far away? What was it made of? Where did the wind come from? And how did the stars move? What fascinated him most, though, was the sky, something he could not merely reach up and touch. At the age of 6, Eratosthenes attended school, where he excelled in mathematics, though among his favorite studies were those that pertained to the earth. As a young man, Eratosthenes traveled to Athens to continue his studies. He studied under multiple teachers, including the scholar Licinius of Cyrene, the philosopher Ariston of Chios, and the poet and scholar Callimachus, who taught him grammar during his stay in Alexandria. Although he was acknowledged as a brilliant scholar, proficient in many fields that not only included mathematics, grammar, and philosophy, he was never considered the best in any one subject, which earned him the nickname Beta, for the second letter in the Greek alphabet, and also because he would always be second to Aristotle. He would oftentimes refer to himself as Philologos, which means a friend to learning, while others would refer to him by his second nickname, Pentatholos, referring to either an athlete participating in 5 sporting events or a well-rounded individual good at several different things. While in Athens, he received a summons to return to Alexandria by Ptolemy III of Egypt, who had heard of his reputation. He spent most of his adult life there in Alexandria as tutor to Ptolemy III's son Philopator. In 240 BCE, Eratosthenes was appointed to serve as the 3rd chief librarian of the Royal Library of Alexandria by Ptolemy III, following the death of his old teacher Callimachus. While there, Eratosthenes wrote comprehensively on many subjects, including comedy, history, the constellations, and multiple climatic concepts such as frigid zones. It was also here that he conceived his sieve. Eratosthenes is further known for his nearly accurate measurement of the circumference of the earth. He expanded upon his method in his work on the measurement of the earth, but it was lost. However, his calculations have appeared in several other works by authors such as Cleomedes and Strabo. In the beginning, Eratosthenes made 2 assumptions. The first was that the earth was round. He explained this through observations made by sailors, that when a ship sailed into the horizon, eventually the mast would be the only part of the ship seen. Thereby the earth had a curve to it, and was therefore round in shape. Eratosthenes accepted this, but took it a step further. How big was the earth, he asked. His second assumption was that the sun's rays were parallel, because he had observed that they fell in parallel lines. He assumed this was because the sun was so far away from the earth. Armed with this knowledge, Eratosthenes set forth to measure the earth. He imagined a section of the earth ran from Alexandria in Egypt to Syene, a city he had once visited. He thought that if he could figure the distance and measure the inside angle, he would be able to calculate the circumference. He had chosen Syene for a certain deep well that would reflect the sun's rays in a perfect pillar from its bottom on July 21st, Midsummer's Day, without casting any shadows. And on the next Midsummer's Day in Alexandria, he measured the shadow cast by an obelisk. He then measured the distance from Alexandria to Syene by camel-powered caravans. By measuring the angle of the shadow on the obelisk, dividing it by 360 degrees, and multiplying by the distance, Eratosthenes arrived at the conclusion that the circumference of the earth was 25,000 stades, an ancient unit of measurement. His approximation was only 100 miles over the actual circumference we go by today, which is 24,901 miles. Decades later, a Greek geographer by the name of Posidonius made his own calculation. He argued that Eratosthenes' estimation was far too large and sought to correct this perceived error on Eratosthenes' part. Posidonius calculated that the circumference of the earth was not 25,000 stades, but rather 18,000 stades. This, rather than Eratosthenes' distance, would be used by Christopher Columbus centuries later. Towards the end of his life, Eratosthenes gradually became blind. Rather than continuing on without his sight, Eratosthenes chose to commit suicide by self-induced starvation in 192 BCE. He was 80 years old at the time. Eratosthenes was a mathematician, a philosopher, a poet, invented the sieve for finding prime numbers, and was the first geographer who discovered the circumference of the earth, long before anyone was willing to listen.